Hi everyone, welcome to VLOGUST Day 12. I wanted to share, this is going to be one of my vloggiest vlogs, but I really wanted to share this with you because there's one particular person that I really need to hear it, and I believe he's watching this now. Well, to start off, I'm 45, and I was a child of the 70s and the 80s, and the 80s were very turn point for me. There was a lot of things happening, especially at the end of elementary school. There was several bands that really affected me and changed the way that I saw things. And one was Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and the other one was Culture Club. And I love Holly Johnson. I love Boy George. Boy George and I actually share a birthday. So I really connected with them on different levels for different reasons. And they really affected my life. Now, in saying that, when I was 14, Frankie Goes to Hollywood came out with their album Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, and it just one of the greatest albums ever. The music, the whole sexiness behind it, you know, and as a young teenager, you know, you're coming into yourself and you're learning things about yourself and who you are, and you know, the music was just exceptional. So it came out around the time I think I was 14. Now, I was a freshman in high school when I was 14, so one day I was across the street from my high school at this very well-known burger stand, and this place is awesome. I still miss home. So just for that reason. So this burger stand was awesome, and when I was over there, and it was after, because I was in band, and I was a drummer 8 years, and I was over there with some of the drummers, and I found this book, and it was a textbook, but it wasn't being used as a textbook because one of the kids that I was with, he said, oh yeah, my sister had that a couple years ago and she'd already graduated. And he said, man, they sent those books home with them. Like, they said they could keep them because they were out of print and they were going to redo them. And I was like, oh, so somebody just left this here? So there was no finding who it belonged to. So I just started thumbing through it, and it was a poetry book, but it was a textbook. And I ran across this poem, and it was called Xanadu Did Kuba Khan. And I started reading it, and I went, oh my God, this sounds just like the song, the starting of the song from Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. So I really started diving into this poem, and it's by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And he wrote it in the 1800s, and apparently he was an opium addict. And so I started researching it because it interests me very much so. So here it is. It comes by my junior or senior year. I'm not sure which year it was. And we have to write, in English class, we have to write a paper. Now, keep in mind, it was senior year because, keep in mind, my teacher had Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was in the final stages, and he was still teaching. He could no longer speak like to where people could hear him. His wife was in the classroom every day translating to a substitute. So there were 3 to 4 teachers in our classroom at all times. And he was so, Mr. Schroeder, he was so awesome. He just couldn't stop teaching. He wouldn't let it take control of him. So he told us he wanted us to do a 8, 9, 10-page paper on literary criticism, and we're going, huh, what's that? And I was in AP English, so we weren't really going, oh, what's that? But we were like, we've never heard of this. So, and he said you can do it on a novel or a play or a poem. And I just went, oh, there's no doubt. This is what I know exactly what I'm writing on. It's been in preparation for years, and I was so excited. So we went to the college library that was near us, and they would not let us check anything out, no matter if we brought our parents down to sign for it or anything, so we didn't go there. So my mom packed me and my friend Silvana with a crap ton of dimes, like a huge plastic baggie full of dimes, because the copy machine would take dimes, like you put a dime and then it would copy, and you put a dime and then it would copy. So we probably had about $40 worth of dimes, because we had no idea how long we would be there, and we had been there for several days and during several different weekends. So we were looking up all this stuff, and I'm looking it up, and I'm sitting in the aisle, and nobody's in this area. Like, people are walking by looking at us going, what the heck are you guys doing, you know, in this section? Nobody wanted to play in that section. Everybody's over in a different cool section. And Silvana came over, and she said, well, what happened? What are you finding? I said, I don't understand how I see this poem a completely different way. And I told her what I thought about it, and I said, this is what they say about it. And she goes, what? She goes, well, maybe it's because of the 1800s. And I said, no, because some of this literary criticism was like, you know, of course, like later on, like in the 1950s and 60s, but it didn't jive. So I had to write pretty much 2 separate papers, and my paper was on literary criticism of what everybody else thought it was. And I said, and then the last part of it was, I completely negate everything that they say, and this is what I have always believed that this is about. And if you research it and you read the poem, to me it sounds like the inner workings of the reproductive system of a woman and a man's body. And it just, from everything that was said, and my teacher came over, and I was so embarrassed to be, you know, they're saying, oh, it was a drug-induced opiate state and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And they're just saying, they're just the rantings of a madman. And I'm like, I don't see that. It's just, it was such beauty to me. And my teacher rolled up in his wheelchair, and he, you know, because he couldn't speak anymore. And he grabbed me and he gave me the biggest kiss on the cheek. And tears are coming down his face, and he calls his wife over, and she said, that's it exactly. They're all wrong, and you're right. And he was very well acquainted with that poem, and it just really meant so much to me. So in about 1989, some point in 1989, I was listening to a radio station. I'm not going to say which one, but I've already disclosed that at a different point. And they said that Holly Johnson had died, and I was devastated. I started crying, and I was not consolable or able to be made happy in any way for several days. And I think it wound up being more like weeks, because I got into a kind of a slump. But I was very upset because, you know, there's several points in time where music dies, and what happens to it? It alters, it changes, and it's never the same. And that's what American Pie, that's what the song is all about, is the day the music died. So I thought, my God, what's going to happen? You know, this is the beginning of techno. This is the beginning of electronic music at its finest. And I was just devastated. So I took that as truth. Now, fast forward to about 2007, 2008. It had to be 2008. And I'm in school for ministry. I was in full-time ministry at a mega church in California. And I was in school for ministry at the time, and we had prayer every morning for 2 hours. And it wasn't like you go into your home and you pray. It got buck wild in there. It was crazy. People, you know, running the aisles. I mean, it was the Lord was there. So I'm praying, and all of a sudden, God puts in my heart to start praying for Holly Johnson. And I'm like, but Lord, he's gone. And he kept, so I did. And I was obedient, and I did, and I did. And finally, I was just like, he did this for a couple days, and finally I was like, you know what? And I grabbed my computer, and I Googled his name, and so help me God if he was not still alive. And I was so ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, he didn't die. And then I felt robbed. And I felt it's the enemy that comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. And all this time, I thought that he was dead. And it was so horrifying to me that I missed out on, what, 18, 19 years of his career? If he had one, I didn't even know. I hadn't had a chance to get that far yet. So I was just happy. I pulled up some interviews later on that day, and I started watching them of him, you know, like possibly getting back together with Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and doing like a tour or something. You know, like there was some TV show that was trying to get them back together. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's going to work out. I said, but that would be beautiful if you know, all these years later, if I can find out that he's still alive, maybe they could squash their differences and do this wonderful thing for everybody that never knew that or never thought that he was gone in the first place. But I guess my whole vlog is about, I found his YouTube channel, and I clicked it, and it was a while ago, and you know, so all of a sudden last week something was posted on there, and it was him, it was Holly Johnson, and he was about 20 years ago, it was 97, and he was at a concert, and he was singing, and just, oh God, he's so beautiful, and he's just so amazing, and his voice is just so incredible, and just his sex appeal, good God, like all that in one person, how, oh God, beautiful, just a beautiful man, all encompassing, just beautiful. And so I just felt very led to write in the comments what had happened. And I put his name, I put Holly Johnson in caps, and then I told him that I thought that he was gone for so long. You know, and people say, oh, this person, oh, they really affect, no. My friend, Shannon, took, and you know who you are, Shannon, and she took my paper that I had wrote, and she took it with her to college, and she did a presentation on my paper because it was that good. And she, when we were in City College, and she's like, I got an A. Like, she was so ecstatic. So it was like you had to, I don't know, you had to, it was legit. It was okay. But the thing is his music, had I never heard that song, would I had ever been affected that much by that poem? And would it have led me to a place where I had become such a good listener to writers and being able to write something that really affected a man who was about to die? You know, Mr. Schroeder, he didn't last much longer. And I just wanted Holly Johnson to know that he didn't just affect me, he's affected people that I have affected because of his music. And I had put that on his comments, and he hearted it back, and I started to cry. And I know it was him. It was like in the middle of the night, and I thought, I really hope he understands that when all else fails, there's one person that truly, her life has been affected by his music. And I just wanted to thank him for that. And I know he's watching because I just know. So, subscribe. That is my fun vlog. It's crazy. But, you know, that's what vlogging's all about, right? Is telling what, you know, a significant thing that's happened in your life. Well, that... that was about 32 years worth right there. Maybe a little more. So, thank you for listening, and hi, Lena. And subscribe to my channel. We'll be doing more, all kinds of stuff during VLOGUST, and going forward, more bag reviews and product reviews and all kinds of stuff, tutorials and such. But thank you for listening.